without further ado, it's 6:36 p.m. May I request someone get this meeting in order? Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, I file a motion to open the meeting.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody second that motion?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Marion. So today, the only item on our agenda is our the traffic calming that is being presented by Erica Guidoboni and Katrina Meyer from Tool Design. I want to preface their presentation today by saying that I have been in this role as the chair of the Traffic Commission for just about 13 months at this point. We've met several times over this year. Prior to that, I'm familiar with this commission by having sat on it as the town engineer. We had several discussions throughout this 1 year, and it was very obvious to us that we needed really what I call a roadmap, a path forward in terms of how do we tackle traffic calming in the town as a whole, in terms of what studies get prioritized, what roads get prioritized over other roads. And in addition to that, what traffic calming mechanisms would be acceptable, that we as a town have come together and said, these are some of the tools that we want to move forward with. Understanding the pros and the cons, and which traffic mechanism works for which kind of scenario. So with that being said, myself, I have reached out, as well as Nick Milano, we reached out to Erica from Tool Design, prefaced to her what our concerns and questions, and we really wanted to know what other communities were doing that were effective. And not only that, but also what could be a solution that could really be tailored to our community and this general feel that I believe that residents now have, that we're a big cut-through community, which is not unique to the town of Milton. I believe that other communities within the 93 split, Quincy, Braintree, just to name a couple, also feel the same way. But it is unique in a sense to the town of Milton because we have that connectivity between some communities and the city of Boston and city of Quincy, vice versa. Also, it was important for us to note that we wanted to know, like I said, I mentioned in the past what the pros and cons would be for each of the techniques and the designs, not only designs, but also general approach to prioritizing and hearing every single resident group as a whole, and having a very data-driven process in helping our folks understand what the process is to getting a traffic mitigation in our community. So with that being said, again, we reached out to Tool Design based on the fact that we had heard they had done several other similar projects in other communities, but most importantly, they sat down with us. They listened to some of the recent concerns as well as some historical concerns. And they put together a scope of work that I would like that the Traffic Commission is made aware of. So with that, I will promote them to panelists. This is the first time that anyone in our Traffic Commission, as well as the residents, are hearing about this. They did put a little, I asked them to put in a little PowerPoint together that really highlights the scope. Hopefully we get a chance to review it and come up with questions, concerns, and any revisions, or ask questions, how would, certain revisions impact the scope, and then make a decision to maybe at our next meeting, after everybody has reviewed it, Tool has had a chance to tweak the design, their scope according to how we see fit after this conversation. And then at one point, the Traffic Commission would make a decision as to whether or not we see fit to bring this traffic mitigation roadmap to the select board. So Erica and Katrina, without further ado, if you want to introduce yourselves, please, and just go right at it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that thoughtful introduction, Marina. Katrina, can you just make sure that the slides are shareable while I'm kind of getting going, just to make sure that we're all squared away from the tech department?
Not shareable at the moment, so if you could add those questions for me, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I will jump into my spiel while Marina's pulling those up, because there's just a couple of introductory slides there. So my name is Erica Guidaboni. You pronounce my name correctly, Marina, which is always a tricky one for folks. I'm a licensed professional engineer with the state of Massachusetts. I've been working in the Commonwealth for over 20 years, really focused on traffic engineering. And I have with me tonight Katrina Meyer, who is a certified planner with over a decade of local experience. And I think we bring a really interesting balance of engineering and planning to this project, because I sort of, my background is really on the implementation end of the spectrum, whereas Katrina is really thoughtful about, policy and planning, and how we blend those things together, I think is a really interesting combination that I think will work really well for the town of Milton. And between us, we are very grounded in transportation work specifically, and safety focused work is kind of our bread and butter. So you can go to the next slide, Katrina. I'm glad those slides are up. Just really quick, backing up, I wanted to just introduce our firm, Tool Design. I don't know that we've done a lot of work in Milton in the past, and I certainly am seeing some fresh names and faces this evening. So just really quick, we are kind of unique in the industry. We're a mission-driven firm that really focus on projects that are aligned with our values of safety, equity, and providing access to the public realm for all people. So that is that means that we would apply a data-driven, safe systems approach to our projects. We want to make sure that we are really thinking about the projects at a very holistic level, and not, squeaky wheel gets the grease, which is why we're kind of making sure that in talking with the community and the kind of the roadmap that Marina mentioned, I want to make sure that the community is empowered with a data-driven, safe systems approach to the project, so that it's really equitable and thoughtful as we go through this process. And of course, I think I've already sort of mentioned it, but we always make sure that our plans are implementable for the communities we serve, because what we don't want to do is have a situation where you have a plan that sits on a shelf, as they say. Next slide, Katrina. This is my last one, and then I'm going to pass it over to her to get into the details about the proposed approach for this project, and then we can take any questions, comments, and continue the conversation. We're a firm of over 300 engineers, planners, landscape architects, urban designers. We're focused on serving communities throughout the country, as you can see on the screen here. This is just a quick snippet of some of the projects that are relevant that we've done over the last few years, bringing our multidisciplinary team's perspective to each of these projects. So we're happy to chat about any of those if you have any questions. But without further ado, passing it off to Katrina to jump into the details about Milton. Thanks.
Thanks, Erica. So translating what Marina started us off with into a few kind of statements of purpose and what we would aim to achieve in partnership with you all with this work. We're looking for that roadmap and that framework for traffic calming. We would want to work with you to define tools for when and how traffic calming should be applied. As Erica alluded to, that the answer to when and how would be rooted both in data, safety goals, and community input, so that there's a consistent approach to decision making. And then kind of once we have the framework, the roadmaps, work on, okay, when we apply those to the streets, what are our near-term top priorities for implementing traffic calming in the next few years? And then after that, the framework can be used to figure out the next few years and next few years and so forth. But we would help you with that near-term tranche of projects. As Marina said, we worked on a scope, based on our industry knowledge and best practices, but something that is tailor-made for Milton's needs at this present moment. So by way of overview, these are our kind of broad tasks. Project management and meetings. We have a task to set the baseline and do our due diligence when it comes to looking at past planning work, as well as regional planning work. The Boston Region MPO just completed a regional safety plan that should have some really good crash data and analysis, which will help us. And then some local data analysis, just so we have an understanding of traffic patterns. We have some different types of community and town hall engagement planned along the way, and we'll get into those details in later slides. Kind of in between the engagement and the baseline and really developing those final products, we want to establish a vision and goals so that there can be a North Star for what the plan wants to achieve, not in terms of deliverables, but in terms of like for Milton and for the community. And then finally, those products in terms of roadmap, plan, policy, and all that. So here's one more kind of overall schedule, and then I'll kind of have a slide per task just to get one level deeper in terms of specifics. But we've outlined a schedule that takes us to October 2026. Some of those upfront tasks taking place in the first 3 months. In month 3, doing an initial phase of engagement, then taking time to establish the vision and goals and begin on putting pen to paper when it comes to the policy framework and toolkit. And then we'll have a second engagement phase to say, did we get it right before finalizing in October? So into the more details of the scope of work, project management and check-in meetings. This is where we imagine we'll be meeting kind of more so with a core team that includes Marina and who are kind of closest to the monthly working group on this. On a future slide, we'll talk about the cadence for meeting with this particular group. And so up front, we'll want to set clear expectations for what that recurring coordination looks like. So setting the baseline, this is our due diligence up front to make sure we have the right understanding of Milton and the current needs that prompt this study. So a few different categories: reviewing the past and ongoing plans, as well as ongoing, maybe it's not a capital P plan, but just kind of ongoing projects or evaluations that are relevant. For the analysis, we'll kind of look at the mobility options and infrastructure, just getting an understanding of roadways, functional class, where we have bicycle facilities, the sidewalk network, bus network, etc. Safety is, like Erica said and Marina mentioned, a central goal for all of TOOL's work. traffic calming is inherently about slowing vehicle speeds, which is to the end goal of improved safety. So that's critical. So we'll dedicate a section of this task to that. And then finally, more kind of looking at vehicle travel patterns. ADT means average daily traffic. So just looking at some of those travel patterns and speeds as well. And the deliverable for that, we're mentioning some PowerPoint slides that we can easily adapt to our next task, which is the community engagement. So I've already mentioned we're thinking about 2 phases of engagement. Phase 1 to kind of introduce the plan, introduce what traffic calming means, share some of the data that we've brought in from setting the baseline task, and some of the national data that just makes the case of what traffic calming tools work to slow vehicles down, reduce crashes, and keep communities safer. And that's kind of what we will be sharing with the community and the select board, what have you. And then in the reverse direction, what we'll be asking is questions about, where are you seeing these issues? So some mapping exercises, as well as questions related to visioning. What do you want the streets in Milton to do, to deliver for you, feel like, etc. So that's phase 1. Phase 2, we'll have done some homework with the inputs from phase 1. And so we'll have draft vision, goals, policy, toolkit materials to share at different levels of detail with different groups. So in the deliverables column here, we've listed out all the different types of engagement that we would plan. And here that is kind of plotted out into a subset of the schedule. So we plan to come back to this group 3 different times throughout the process, kind of once more in phase 1. This is pre-phase 1 today, but so once in phase 1 to talk in more depth, I think, about your goals, specific goals and needs. In phase 2, we're mentioning 2 meetings, so we'll be working probably a little bit more intensely together on shaping those deliverables before they go to the broader public. We'll want to keep the select board informed, so planning for a meeting during phase 1 and 2 there. As far as the wider community in Milton, we would be aiming for an in-person public open house in phase 1 in the spring, paired with an online survey and a pop-up event to ask those questions, and also try to build our Rolodex of community members that we would engage on this project, so that when we get to phase 2, we can be a little slightly more lean in our general public outreach and focus on doing an online public meeting paired again with another pop-up avenue. So giving folks multiple ways to share their feedback. Task 4, as I said, is the vision and goals development. So between phase 1 and 2 of engagement, breaking down breaking what we learn and aligning that with some themes. We are kind of assuming that safety is likely one of the primary themes, but what else? Access, quality of life. Maybe is there a focus on access to schools or community centers? Could be lots of different things, but what are those themes that we want to orient decision making around? And what are those themes that describe a future ideal transportation in Milton? So this is a kind of big task in terms of thinking, a small task in terms of percentage of effort, because really it's all the other things that feed into it. And then big task in terms of percentage of effort is all of the final deliverables. So going through these one by one, the first one is a traffic calming policy. So more, something that we imagine could be adopted by the select board that says, here's our commitment to traffic calming policy, and fairly simply, here is how decisions get made and by whom. we want to pair that with the toolkit and typologies map. So this is the when and how question being answered. The toolkit, we want to keep it simple to things that we know are implementable and achievable and that work. So things like, speed humps, curb extensions, and there are plenty of broad toolkits out there that we will reference, and then we will tailor that into what we think will work on Milton's roadways. To help answer where, we're going to create a map that divides up the streets into Milton into a few different categories, so neighborhood streets, bigger streets, the arterials, streets in between. So maybe 3 to 5 categories at most. And then for each of those categories, crosswalk that with what types of tools would make sense on those roadways. So providing that clear guidance to you and to the broader community. The third thing we have listed on here is the prioritization. So when we look at some of those values and goals that we establish around safety or could be access to schools, if we put that on a map, okay, where are the least safe areas based on crash data? Where are the schools? And on down the list as we form it, which areas are lighting up as priorities. So that will be the prioritization process geographically, and then we'll help you establish what are those first 3 years of priority zones. So maybe not specific roadways, but maybe more like specific neighborhoods that are the top priority based on translating the vision and goals into analysis. Fourth thing on here is the traffic calming plan. So this will be where we'll just kind of package together all of the work we've done from setting the baseline, what we did in community engagement, the goals, the toolkit, the typologies, the prioritization into one deliverable. And those subchapters can stand alone too, as I kind of talked through them. And then final section of the plan is just kind of a funding matrix, different funding from both federal government, MassDOT, and other sources that we think would be applicable to the types of projects that fall under the umbrella of traffic calming. And one other just mention when it comes to prioritization, as part of the effort with the Boston Region MPO, Tool is also a consultant to them to help address safety kind of from another angle. So they developed regional priorities, and separately, Tool is a consultant to them to help take some of those priority locations and develop designs. So we have started some initial conversations with Milton about that. So I just mentioned that to say that there is more than one way that safety concerns, I think, can and will be addressed in the near term. And this is another way that Tool is also likely, potentially going to be engaged with the town. So that is the scope of work, and we would love to open it up now to discussion. Erica, Marina, anything to add?
Thank you. This is a great presentation. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Erica. I'm going to open up to the panelists of the call first. So, Steve, go right ahead.
Thank you for that. A presentation was very good. I guess the question from me is, so you guys are going to analyze our current state of affairs and kind of give some recommendations, but are we going to walk away with a process that going forward? So if we decide to put another new development on the other side of town that has a major impact on traffic flow that we don't see today, will a process come out of this that we can follow? And also the one part I think is important, that how do citizens has a need, they come to us and we put it on our agenda, but is there a mechanism to feed that information into this process? So thanks.
If you
Absolutely.
don't mind, yeah, if you don't mind, let me try to answer that because that was my
Yeah.
request, and hopefully you, Katrina, you can say if I got it right or not. Steve, this shouldn't really be telling us things related to development and future development. It will, in a sense, because you will have additional users on the road, but this is really a roadmap in a way for this commission to when we get several requests all at once. So we've heard from residents from, you know, Cliff, Cliff, Clifton Road. We at the same time we were hearing from residents around Reservation and Governor and Plymouth, and then someone from the other side of the town, Canton. Also,
Mhm.
everybody has a traffic issue. The question is, how is the town, because we are unable to, we need to admit that we're unable to take care of everything at once, how it is that we're going to prioritize, first of all. Second
Mhm.
of all, what are some of the techniques that we all concisely, right, as a group, as a town, and that is why the decision making and reviewing with residents is so important, because you and I, Steve, could be thinking that speed humps are the greatest things in the
Mhm.
world, and our residents might really be against it, or I think we just went through that with some of our residents. We weren't able to make a decision. We sent it up to the select board to make a decision on behalf of the draft commission because we understood what the pros and cons of that decision was.
Mhm.
And this really is, I want to be, Stevie, you've been on this commission for a long time, longer than I have. You know that we had the traffic planning. There's another traffic planning material that was completed around 2020.
Mhm.
Uh, Part of their baseline is to study that material. And this is largely more a working toolkit than that planning document ever was, because that planning document was a great start because it really provided us, hey, we do have an issue. Here are the players. Here's what makes it an issue. Um, this is some potential things that we can be doing to solve that issue, but this really gets more into the uh you know the weeds of things.
Yeah. Okay.
So Erica, please, if you can add to that.
Yeah, that was a great answer, Marina, and our understanding as well. I would just add that I have a background in doing traffic studies in the land development field as well. So I know a little bit about that process. And I would just add that this is something that you could potentially put into your policy. You know, a new development is coming through, the traffic impacts are
Mhm.
fairly noted. Like if you want to come up with a number, you could, and say that part of your policy is that they look to the plan. If they're in a prioritization zone, maybe they are doing some mitigation that is aligned with traffic calming, rather than sometimes what you get for mitigation is, you know, adding vehicular lanes or increasing capacity. And you could use this as a mechanism to have mitigation be a little more aligned with the goals of the area, depending on where the development is.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll ask my other question then, since everybody else is quiet. So from if we, we go through the process, is a dollar number going to be assigned to what we think it would take to do that type of minute? Let's say we decided we want to put speed bumps on Brooks Road for, for every other 30 feet or whatever the number is. Is part of the output of the potential resolution a dollar value also? Or is that not part of this plan? It's more of just a prioritization.
Um, I would just, sorry, I didn't raise my hand, Marina. Um, the toolkit will have a sign. It'll be ranges because things
Yeah.
vary so much depending on the location, but we'll have like, I don't know if it'll be the low, medium, high, or if it'll be, speed humps are roughly $5,000 per to 10,000 per, or whatever the numbers might be. So we'll
Yeah.
give you a guideline for traffic, or excuse me, for planning purposes level of cost estimate, but nothing concrete
Yeah.
either.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
And the one of the outputs of the study, Steve, is the first 3 years. a really, our plan for the first year, those numbers will be a bit more accurate than obviously once this study ages a little bit more.
Mhm.
And I would also foresee that once we capture, let's say that we capture a set of roads, right? Let's say that we see an interconnectivity between traffic patterns, which we saw that on Governor, right? And we say we cannot look at this one alone. We really need to look at the set of, and that is what this toolkit is going to give us. If it's within that red zone, I don't know if that's what we're going to be calling it, right? If it's in the priority area and we want to look at the neighborhood or the set of 3, 4, 5 streets, it won't have a dollar value per street because that street might have more speed humps, or that street might not have any speed humps. That street, maybe we're going to do that in conjunction with our ongoing pavement plan, right? So then you do some cost efficiencies there. That's another point. This might be something that the engineering department will be looking at. If they are about to pave a road and that road and that set of roads are within our, priority zone, that is really the time that we can be looking at also doing something in order to find efficiencies in the cost of that construction. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the cost will vary. Depends. Did we take advantage of the paving program? Did we not? Did we go in separately? Did it include additional studies, etc.?
I think that's what you're kind of what you're getting at, Steve, a little bit here is like, how are you going to use it? And like, that's one of the ways that your engineering department and the traffic commission can use this plan. Like, it's the roadmap. It's not going to, again, sit on the shelf. It's going to be something that is a living thing that, the team in town are going to be calling upon on a regular basis. But to have that map and not be kind of reactive to neighborhood concerns in the same way, I think is kind of one of the goals here.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else from the commission before I move on to our attendees and see if they have any questions? All right. Any attendees have any questions? Please raise your hand. All right. Amy, I'm going to allow you to speak. Please go ahead. We know where you live, but if you don't mind, please stating your full name and address. Thank you.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
great, thank you. Yeah, my name's Amy Morrison. I live at 58 Clifton Road. We've been working closely with the Traffic Commission and the Select Board about some issues in our neighborhood. So we're very grateful for the support and very grateful to hear about this engagement, just kind of to have a more forward thinking view of how to handle these situations. I think will be really beneficial to the town. I just, I'm wondering, would it be possible, will these slides be posted somewhere for, or at least the recording of the meeting? Because I know that many residents, I can't tell how many are on the meeting, but I know people will be very interested in this. I just think
Amy,
that community engagement piece is just so critical here.
The recording will be available, and then the goal is for this traffic commission to review the scope very closely, provide feedback, and then the tool design would eventually also present at the select board meeting, which there will be other opportunities for residents to ask more questions about the exact scope.
I think that's great. Just, really excited, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amy. Mariah, you have been able to speak. You can unmute yourself. If you can please state your full name and your address. Thank you.
Mariah Alanskis. I live in Boston actually, so I'm 117 Park
You
Drive.
can give me your address if you don't mind.
That's okay. 117 Park Drive.
Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify kind of like a question. You said that the funding would largely be through MassDOT and federal funding. I don't know if you have any like idea on percentages of how much would be federal, how much would be, local, kind of if you have any idea of what that will look like.
The study would be funded by the town of Milton. We have several mechanisms in which that can be funded. There is a budget related to traffic engineering that could be used. There's ongoing Chapter 90 funding that this would be eligible for. However, what Tool Design Group has alluded to in terms of federal and state and other is the funding matrix. So basically, it will provide us a small synopsis of, hey, Milton, these are some other state and federal grants that are available in case you want to take on very specific mitigation, traffic mitigation projects, and they will be related to the construction. So again, once the design is done, that toolkit is done, it includes snippets on explaining to us, here are some really innovative ways that you can stretch your dollar further by taking advantage of all of these programs that are ongoing. And it could be, we haven't defined how that toolkit is going to look like. It could be links to websites, because again, federal and state funding, they change all the time. Those programs are get innovated. And so this is just kind of a reminder. Once we're ready to do a construction project, let's go back, let's check what money is available so we can do more of these for more cost-effective, in a more cost-effective way to our residents. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, that helps. Thank you.
Because that is always, the final target. That is the eye is always on final construction and money related to that, as Steve alluded to it too. So with that being said, I don't think there are any other questions. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Katrina. It was very nice to have you guys send that over to us. I have shared the detailed scope right up to with the commission, the traffic commission. Steve, I think we can get everybody's, and Marion, I think we can, I can figure out a timeline for me to receive feedback from each and every one of you. And then we'll probably make a vote. Hopefully we'll have a quorum. And at our next meeting, we'll make a vote to send it out to the select board if that's what the wish and the decision of the commission is. In terms of timeline, Erica, we are likely not going to meet again for another couple of months, 2 or 3 months. We've been trying to meet every 3 months.
Traffic Commission?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So this may shift our schedule that we shared today, but we're happy to.
Yeah, I don't think
modify.
I accounted for that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll try to meet within 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. let us know if you need anything from us, of course, or if there's any follow-up questions that you hear that you want to pass along. We're happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you. We definitely want to make sure that we have all of our comments in and it is voted in a concise manner if that's the case to the select board. So with that being said, that's the only item in our agenda tonight. Anyone else of the commission want to speak, or should I do I have a motion to end the meeting? You
Yeah,
guys want to stay here
I'll
forever?
make a motion to end the meeting. Marina?
Thank you, Steve. Motion to end the meeting. Anyone second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Marion. Thank you, everybody. Again, appreciate everybody here tonight, and we'll see you at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.